Welcome to the world famous Blackpool Illuminations. Well, here we are in Blackpool. Well, technically Bispham, which is the north end of the Illumination Trail, which is over 6 miles in length. And we're going to head down today from what they call the tableaus here at Bispham all the way down to Stargate at the other side of Blackpool. So let's get going, and we're going to take a look at the history of the Blackpool Illuminations. The greatest light show on earth, some would call it. My mum would say the same when I left the big light on in the house. It's like Blackpool bleeding illuminations in here. First shone in 1879, they've been lighting up our autumns for almost 150 years, and the first example in the world of electric street lighting. In fact, they predate Thomas Edison's electric light bulb by a year. When you think that back in 1879, most homes were still lit by candlelight, this must have been such a spectacle that kept growing and growing each season. It all started when Blackpool Council devoted over £5,000 to experiment with the concept of electric street lighting. The original display consisted of 8 arc lamps on 60-foot poles between the north and central piers. This was the beginning of the world-famous Blackpool Illuminations. The arcs or illuminations were so popular and bright in the beginning that they were dubbed artificial sunshine by its many visitors. However, it wasn't always awe-inspiring in their early years, as the lamps used to go out as the tide came in. Water would leak into the cast iron wiring pipes and short them out. The closest display to what we have today started in 1912. It was to commemorate a royal visit by Princess Louise, who had opened a new section of the promenade. In this year, up to 10,000 lights shone, and they became even more popular. When World War I started, the illuminations had to be put on hold, and they went dark for a period of 11 years. They returned in 1925 bigger and better than they'd ever been, stretching for several miles down the promenade between Manchester Square and Cocker Square. By 1929, they even illuminated all 3 of the piers, and this was the year that the famous animated tableaus appeared along the cliffs at North Shore and Bispham. The Second World War stopped the famous light show once again, this time for a period of about 20 years, whilst the country remained dark and in lightless conditions. The illuminations didn't return again until 1949, once the council had received permission from the government and the austerity measures had eased. They were switched on by actress Anna Neagle. The illuminations have shone consecutively since 1950 and become more and more popular and much bigger as the years went by. They traditionally shine from the end of August until early November every single year. Since 2020, they have even been extended right through until early January. They've continued to be updated every year, with new additions and changes in technology, changing the LED lighting in recent times, and even reduced to operate in lower voltage of 12 volts and 24 volts, with the hope of them being carbon neutral very soon. Some of the famous faces who have turned on the illuminations include Ken Dodd, David Tennant, Hollywood director Tim Burton, Shirley Bassey, George Formby, Andrew Lloyd Webber, Status Quo, Bee Gees and Gary Barlow. Even characters such as Kermit the Frog and the racehorse Red Rum have been given the pleasure. This year, Spice Girl Mel B had the honour. Even the trams didn't escape the light treatment. Running themed and illuminated for many years, they've also changed many times with different designs and concepts. Today, we can still see some of the illuminated trams ferrying passengers up and down the Golden Mile. Each section of the illuminations have to be taken down, maintained and reinstalled every single year, with their old storage and maintenance depot being located near Tramtown on Rigby Road. This has since moved to a brand new premises on the site of Blackpool Airport. They are an ingenious way to bring in extra visitors in a period where it would normally start to wind down as we head into autumn. It's estimated that they bring in up to 3 million extra visitors a year at a cost of around £1.9 million. Today they run for over 6 miles, which is 10 kilometres using over 1 million bulbs and 200 miles of cables. They are completely free to see, and donations are welcome but not expected. You can see them in many different ways, from walking and driving through them, to taking a heritage tram or even an open top tram along the route. My favourite method is on my bike for the most part, and then walking through the famous tableau section at Bispam. This way you can see them at their full potential, as some of them are animated and have a timed show, when they work that is. The tableau section is what most people would call the end of the illuminations, as the traffic is encouraged to start at the opposite end and work its way down towards Bispam. Back when all the traffic was routed one way down the promenade, these days it's back to two-way traffic. The tableaus are updated every now and then, with old favourites returning for many years. Some of the sections are so iconic that they've been here for decades, with a few modern touches. The early part of the illuminations has now been bolstered by a new event called Poool. It sees temporary illuminated artwork installations along the promenade, as well as other areas of Blackpool. These have become just as popular as the main lights themselves. They don't last for the full period of the illuminations and have to be moved into storage before the real winter weather sets in. On certain dates, they also coincide with the annual fireworks championships that run on certain weekends throughout the illumination period. Seeing many countries from around the world put on their best displays and attracting thousands more visitors to Blackpool's promenade. And also some of Blackpool's more permanent attractions join the lineup too, even though they tend to shine all year round. You have the Blackpool Tower that has its famous LED lights and love heart symbol. The tower has had many lights over the years, from large sponsorships on the side to lasers being shone from the top and across the Irish Sea. This is one of my earliest memories of the illuminations as a child. Not forgetting the use of its own giant searchlight that was installed during the war. These have since been discontinued as technologies change and people were getting blinded. Then there's the amazing mirror ball located on the headland at South Shore. This is recognised as the world's largest mirror ball at 6 metres in diameter and contains over 47,000 mirror tiles. It's lit up nightly using coloured spotlights from nearby plinths, creating a dazzling display of colour all across the promenade, and mesmerising to watch from below. This is well worth a visit, even if it is a good walk away from the main tourist area. Some would say that the illuminations aren't as good as they used to be, since they changed to the LED lamps. They don't seem to be as bright or as dazzling as they were, and have now become a little sparse in certain areas. But we have to remember that these are completely free, and times, technologies and even priorities change. Other places around the world have tried to replicate the illumination spectacle, and some might even say that Las Vegas is the light capital. But Vegas was nothing more than a cactus tree in the desert when Blackpool first turned theirs on. They've been funded for many years by the local council, with some money coming in from public and private donations. Many of the display sections have had private sponsors, and this has made some sections memorable over the years. From McDonald's, Beaverbrooks, Airfix, Coral Island and the BBC. Not forgetting the many businesses who used to illuminate their frontages along the famous Golden Mile, although this doesn't seem to be as prominent these days. But it is hoped that in time they will be totally funded by private sponsors and donations, becoming self-sufficient. One thing that is for sure is that the crowds keep coming. It's definitely a well-known and celebrated institution in the calendar, and can proudly boast that it is one of the greatest light shows on earth. So get yourself to Blackpool and see them for yourself. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.